I don't remember the name. Again, this is where I'm not a scholar. I'm a learner, and there's a place in the Old Testament that was talked about that was evil, and God said, I'm going to wipe it out, and nothing will ever be there again. And it was called, Johnson City or whatever.
Sure.
Johnson City was historically validated that it was there, and there was an event that wiped it out, and it is now those 3 square miles or whatever that once was Johnson City is now a wasteland because of salt water that has washed back and forth, and there's nothing there. So
Me?
Yeah, I think you said that.
Oh.
Because he was, I mean, that was like 30 or 45 minutes later. My wife's waiting on me. I really we need to wrap this up or something.
Oh, man.
Because he was wearing you out.
I was trying to get an exit strategy.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of people enjoy the talk. Okay, so let's try to go in the shade a little bit, if that's okay.
Sure.
I mean, we're in the shade now, but so I got my camera mounted, and I also have this one, which, let's see, that should be all right. I think the sun's gone now. Okay. Nothing.
Where do you want me to stand? Does it matter?
That'll work. That's good. Okay. So, what I was actually working on over there.
You really don't have to do this right now if you've got something else to do.
Oh, no.
I'll see you another time.
No. I really don't have anything
Okay.
on. What I was actually working on over there was how I could make this kind of into a game and apply points to certain questions and go through some thought exercises before we even get into the belief. To better help someone understand why I'm asking certain questions. Because sometimes I have to here's why I'm asking this, so it's not so tricky. Okay. Do you have time?
Yeah, I do. I've got 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Is that enough?
That may not be enough for the thought exercises, but we can just get into
You mean
the
the game part?
Yeah.
No, I don't have time for that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I need to get my run in, and I'm supposed to meet somebody at 12:15 for lunch. So.
Gotcha. All right. So we'll save that for later.
Okay.
If there's,
Sure.
maybe later if you're interested. Okay. So,
hey.
I could name off some.
How you doing?
I can name off some examples.
Okay.
Of typical topics, but if you have something in mind, feel free. Just
okay.
If you want to go with it. Anything you're thinking of that you're confident
give me an
in.
example.
So,
for instance, I'm not sure what.
So some common topics would be, I believe karma is real and happening. I believe.
I got one.
Okay.
I got one.
Go ahead.
Because I've been working on this or thinking about it a lot.
Okay.
In the whole karma realm, I believe that Jesus Christ is this
Sure.
in that realm?
Sure.
Okay. I believe that Jesus Christ is God's Son. He came, He died for our sins, and our only avenue to restore our relationship with God or spend eternity with God is through a relationship through Jesus.
Okay. So that's a lot.
Is that too much?
Lot of claims. Maybe we can call that bundle of claims claim X.
Okay.
So I don't know if you'd be comfortable saying Christianity is true, and that is what you mean by Christianity is those set of claims.
I'm comfortable with that.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll talk about that. All right. So I want to get a sense of your confidence from 0 to 100. How confident are you that these claims are true?
Well, I don't want to say 100. That sounds kind of absurd, but I'd say 98.
98%?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So 100% to me would mean I have all confidence, no questions that this is true. I cannot be mistaken. I'm not open to being wrong.
Well, that's what I meant by 98. I'm open to talk about it. I'm open to hear somebody else's views. I'm open to engage in conversation, but from all the research I've done, I'm highly, highly confident
Gotcha.
that I'm right.
Okay.
But I'm open to discussion.
Okay.
So how about that?
What would you say the main reasons that are getting you to that 98% confidence?
I guess the main reason is personal experience.
Okay.
That would be number one. Number two would be historical validation.
Okay. Validation. Okay.
That kind of wraps it all up, I think.
Okay. So if we were to pie chart these two reasons,
Okay.
which one would you say is contributing most to your confidence?
I guess I don't know. It almost 50-50 sounds kind of lame. I'd say a third personal experience and 2/3 validation.
Okay. Third. So the historical validation would be the thing that's most getting you to such high confidence.
Yeah.
Okay. So would it be safe to say that, hypothetically, I'm not saying this is the case,
Okay.
but if you were to discover that the historical validation wasn't as concrete,
Mm-hmm.
would that lower your confidence?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so what is, out of the historical validation, what is it that's validating Christianity?
Well, there's a lot of, and I'm not a Bible scholar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Bible studier. I think that's anybody could do what I've done. I haven't gone to school or seminary or anything like that, but from the historical events that are recorded in the Bible, many of them are validated through other historical references that are non-religious. They're just like,
Okay.
George Washington was the president of the United States.
Okay.
His family might say that, but the history books also say that. So
Okay.
you want me to stop with that?
No, I'm listening.
That there's a lot of prophecy in the Bible
Okay.
that has actually been fulfilled. Some of it's kind of crazy stuff that's actually happened. And then there's, I guess the last thing is that when Jesus was on earth, which is part of the New Testament of the Bible, talking about his time here, the disciples that he spent time with, they ended up, all of them all of them except for one, losing their lives because they believed and taught
Mm-hmm.
that he was God. And who would do that? I mean, why would anybody do that unless it was true?
Okay. So of all those historical validations, how would we validate or invalidate, or how do I say this? What type of evidence would we be looking for if we went to validate it and it was actually invalidated? So what is an example of a historical claim that the Bible makes? How could we
Prove it not true?
if it wasn't true, what would we be looking for? Like, can a book say that the so and so people died
Mm-hmm.
for what they believed and it not be true? Can that happen?
Yeah, that could definitely happen.
Okay.
That one could happen.
Can a book have real places in time and it still be not true?
I'm not sure what you mean. Let me give you an example, and you can tell me if
Okay,
that's what you mean.
sure.
Like there's a, I don't remember the name. Again, this is where I'm not a scholar. I'm a learner, and there is a there's a place in the Old Testament that was talked about that was evil, and God said, I'm going to wipe it out, and nothing will ever be there again. And it was called, Johnson City or whatever.
Sure.
Johnson City was historically validated that it was there, and there was an event that wiped it out, and it is now those 3 square miles or whatever that once was Johnson City is now a wasteland because of salt water that has washed back and forth, and there's nothing there. So
okay, so you're saying that we've identified that this city is real.
it was
We've identified or validated that it has it's been wiped out.
did indeed get destroyed.
Okay.
Yeah. And that it has indeed not been it said, I will destroy it and no man will ever inhabit it again, or something to that effect.
Okay.
And it is currently uninhabitable, unusable for anything.
Okay. So let me try to think of a parallel example. So if we picked up a book and it said that God came down and struck light on this city and caused a fire, and we went through the history and we saw that a city suffered enormous storms and lightning strikes which caused a fire and burned the whole place.
Okay.
Would that be a way to validate that God struck that city with lightning?
Yeah, I think if it was maybe that one standalone event all by itself, and that was all you had, and that was how it happened, was with lightning, unless then that might be hard to say that I don't know about that.
Yeah.
If you incorporate other things that have similar facts around it, then you begin to your confidence goes up. And then also, if there was something that was recorded that had been said, say 800 years before the event, that this will happen and this is how it will happen,
okay.
then it'd be like, wow, I believe there's enough coincidence in the world that it was predicted, and then it happened exactly the way it said it was going to happen.
Okay. So I think I'm going to repeat back what you're saying and just let me know if I understand you correctly. You're saying that although these events, there was a description of what happened, and from what we can tell, that's exactly what happened. We may not be able to confirm that God, caused that lightning to happen, or caused a plague, or whatever it is. We may not be able. We weren't there to validate that, but we can see the aftermath.
Yeah.
But what gets you to that extra step is the fulfilled prophecy.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
And I mean, yes, and then that you see that wasn't a standalone event. That there were other similar prophecies.
Okay.
That also.
So a culmination.
A culmination.
Okay.
Yes, that on its own, and then the fact that there are more in addition.
Okay. So I'm gonna take another outside example. Let's say that this book that said that this city would be struck by lightning, and we could tell that that seems to be what happened. It burned, and that this God lived on a mountain, and this mountain still exists today. He may not live there now. Would that kind of validate the story even more, that it's using a real mountain in a real place?
I'm not sure what you mean. I didn't understand the question.
So, like, if we looked into Greek history, and they said that there's this God who throws lightning, and he lives on Mount Olympus.
Okay.
and they can see these events happening, and we could go into modern day Greece and say, yeah, that's in their history books that this event happened. This town was hit with lightning and storms and burned the whole place. Would that be a way to validate the story of this God that lives on this mountain?
Yeah, I guess it would, if you were, if that's the way it was actually described, is that there is a God that lives on this mountain, and, in 500 years, at 12, whatever, however specific you want to get, 500 years, he's going to throw down lightning on this spot, and it will decimate it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So yes, I agree. That would be validating.
That would be validating the history of Greek.
Olympus. Is that who Olympus was? Or?
I'm not really sure.
Yeah. There's got to be a guy
I was just thinking of an example on the fly.
There's got to be a Greek guy like that somewhere.
Okay, so I guess we'll move to prophecy now. If you came to the conclusion that prophecy in the Bible was not correctly validated in some way, would that affect your confidence?
Yeah, it would.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the reason why I'm asking that is because I'm trying to identify the foundational reasons of the belief, meaning the pillars that hold it up, the confidence.
I'm sorry, you just lost me.
That's loud music.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking that is because I'm trying to identify the foundational reasons of a belief, and so usually if they're foundational, if I say, what if that wasn't true?
Yeah, it starts to fall down.
Yeah,
the
so
foundation's
not
good.
necessarily saying,
yeah,
not necessarily saying that they aren't true, but that they are in fact what is giving you that confidence.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it would. I absolutely that would affect my belief system. The example you gave, if that was validated over, it would take more than just one event, and it would also take a historical account of what else did he say? Did the rest of it come true? I mean, because there's like end of times guys that say, on September 11th, 2019, at 8 o'clock, the world's going to end, and 8 o'clock will come and go. And it's like, I was looking at the ancient such and such calendar, and
Mayan.
Mayan. Really, it's this calendar, and it's really September 28th of 2021.
Okay.
By this other calendar, and because things like that happen all the time. People say things and it doesn't happen, and then they change their mind. Or if Olympus had made 100 claims, and that's the only one that was pretty close to being right. But, yeah, it's more than just look at that one standalone thing.
Okay, I understand. Okay, so I'm going to ask some questions about prophecy, try to give some examples to see what is considered a good prophecy and what is considered like not a good prophecy. So like, if I go to a restaurant and I order a medium well steak, and I say I'm going to get a medium well steak, and it comes out and it's medium well, is that considered fulfilled prophecy?
Well, you shouldn't have ordered it medium well.
I know, right?
Yeah, so
medium rare. I'm sorry.
Yeah, medium rare. It's already ruined. So, let's see. I guess I'm not sure if I know the exact definition of what prophecy, because I'm not.
Well, I'm wondering, is that considered a fulfilled prophecy?
That to me would be considered a fulfilled request, and I don't know if there's difference. I'd have to really think about all that.
Yeah,
that's bigger than my little brain can.
I would say probably what disqualifies it from prophecy is that I was involved and actively working to fulfill it.
Yeah, that's Yeah. If you predict you're going to do something in 3 years and you have the power to do it, that's I agree with you. Yeah.
And so another example would be if I said I predict that my great grandson is going to be named David, and that happens, let's say after I die, I died and my great grandson is named David. Is that considered fulfilled prophecy?
Yeah, I guess, again, not quite as much so, but you could still have some control over that. You could ask, request.
Or someone hears about it.
Or this is that you could tell your daughter and your grandson, this is the only thing I want. I will leave you my whole fortune if you
incentivize it.
You will, and I want 90% of it to go to the first grandchild that names their firstborn son David.
Okay.
I'm going to give.
So that's probably
$5 million.
Probably not. Yeah.
I don't know. That's an extreme, but you do still have some control over it, I guess. So.
Okay. So it's not fulfilled prophecy because I wasn't. I was.
That kind of shoots down my whole. But God, that's what God does. He predicts and He controls. Though He does have. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not.
So let me ask you this:
my statement.
Once the prophecy has been predicted, did the people that fulfilled it, or were the people around that when it was fulfilled, did they have access to the prophecy, and did they actively work to fulfill it?
They could have. Yeah, they could have. I don't know the answer to that, but it's very possible, because I guess it depends on the time. Well, they still could have. At that time, things were. I don't know exactly how the whole Old Testament came into being, but they had scrolls and they had scribes, and they kept it in the temple or wherever. It wasn't like today where you can go buy a Bible or it's online or whatever, where you can look at whatever you want. But at the same, it would have been more difficult for that to happen, but it doesn't mean it was impossible. They still taught people what it said and stuff like that. So it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
I don't know how probable it is.
So
it's not out of the question.
Let's say hypothetically, if you were to just dig in, read about every prophecy in the Bible, and do some research, and you discovered that more than half of these prophecies were fulfilled by people that had prior knowledge of the prophecy and were in the position to fulfill it. If that happened, I'm not saying that's the case, but hypothetically, if it was like half, would that affect your confidence?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So, would you say currently, of what you know of prophecy, would you say that 98% confidence is warranted for what you know?
For what I know, I would say yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I don't know anything to the contrary. So I don't have any, and I've studied, not exhaustively. I've also studied a couple of guys that are super smart guys that went out of their way to prove that the Bible was wrong. And in the process of doing that, they came to the conclusion that it was right. So
does that kind of like
that's a validation to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like if you were to meet,
they had no. Their goal was they were disgusted with themselves in the end. That's not really, but that was like I'm sure at some point, until they realized how good the promises were actually for them, I'm sure it's at points they were disgusted that they were actually affirming the very thing they were trying to disprove.
Okay. So like if I were to give you, not give you, but if we had all the people that didn't want the Bible to be true and ended up in their efforts to disprove it,
Mm-hmm.
converted, and realized they were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We stacked up all those people, and then we stacked up all the people that really wanted the Bible to be true, but then fell out of the faith in their research or whatever. It's kind of like the opposite of it.
Yeah.
If we stacked up all these people, would whichever way it went, would that be a good way to determine whether the Bible is true or not?
Not necessarily, because I'm not sure what their motive was or what their intent was, or what their. I'd have to know more about the people doing it.
Okay.
I couldn't just take like if you did a survey, it would be interesting.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't. That would not. I'd have to know. I'd have to have a one-on-one conversation. And I've never had a one-on-one conversation with these guys that I'm talking about. But I've read about them and I've read their stuff. And anyway, I'd have to know more about the people. But I don't know. The more you get into, say if you had 1,000 or 10,000, the more numbers you get, the more statistically probable that the information's good, depending on what the basis is and how they went about their research and stuff. So there's a lot of variables in that.
So I guess if I would simplify that type of method of concluding something to be true, I would say, like, I don't have a coin with me, but if I flipped a coin, caught it, covered it, I didn't see what it is, you didn't see what it is, we don't know if it's heads or tails. It wouldn't matter how many people were convinced that it was heads. It wouldn't matter how many people were convinced that it was tails. They can run their calculations. Oh, it's 50-50. It could be a loaded coin. And there's all this speculation, and people are convinced one way or the other. It wouldn't matter how many people believed what. The coin would still be one heads, or it would be tails. It wouldn't be affected by how many people believe it.
Right, that's correct.
If that makes sense. So maybe if we rely on how many people have converted one way or the other, would that be a way, like, should that give weight to whether it's true or not?
It gives a lot. It gives you reason to look into it.
Sure.
Seriously look into it.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean it should impact your belief that it's true or not.
Okay.
What is it, Jonestown? Or is that the Jones guy that, he was in, this was like 30 or 40 years ago. Is it Jim Jones that poisoned all the people? Had them drink the
Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Which is where the phrase came, you're drinking the Kool-Aid?
And, I don't know. It was hundreds, I don't remember exactly. But they all believed it, and he was a nut. So, that's an extreme example of they were all adamant that whatever he was doing was true.
Okay.
But it was not. So.
Okay.
Anyway, I guess I'm just saying. Yeah. It would be a very good reason to look into it seriously.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I think you're probably over 10-15 minutes. I don't have a timer to look at, so.
Yeah, that's fine. If you're ready to wrap it up, that's fine.
Yeah, I think I'm ready to wrap up.
Did I pass? Or did I fail? Did I fail?
I don't think there is any pass or fail.
Really? Okay, good.
Now the game. Now, if we were to do the game, that might be more. See, the thing about the game is it doesn't really say whether the conclusion is true or not. It just gives you points for having reliable or not points for having unreliable weights.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like,
it's almost like scoring if there was an audience and they were scoring how believable or how I defended or responded.
No. Well, it's more about how many checks and validations did you go through and what is the quality of those validations?
Okay.
And does it get you to your confidence level that you're currently at? So what I would do, and I'm still working on the kinks, I'm literally working on it. You give me your confidence level where you're at. So for you it's 98%. And then we go through these questions, and then each question that you utilized a method or checked mark off a certain question, I would give you some points. And so if you got to like 98 points, it would be like, hey, you got there using a reliable method.
Yeah.
Or enough validations to get there.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it might be like, oh, well, you only got to like 70%.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I enjoyed talking to you. This has been really good for me, so I appreciate you taking the time to visit with me about all this, because it's just stuff I've never had a real.
I have a card.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I've never had a real. I don't know if you'd call it deep or philosophical or what do they call it? And I think it's called maybe. No, it's not eschatology. It's some word for defending your faith, I guess. Defending sounds a little extreme to me, but
yeah, I think
supporting.
Apologetics
would
be like.
That's exactly what I was looking for. Yeah. So I've really never done that, and anyway, so I enjoyed it. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm Steve. I don't know if I told you my name. Yeah, good to meet you.
You as well.
Okay. Well, there you go.
That's it, man.
Okay. I'll see you around.
All right, man. Have a good one.